So in this video, I'm going to go through how to find the median from a frequency table. But before I do that, there are a few questions that we need to think about. So the first question says, how do I find the middle of anything? Well, the middle of anything is half. The middle of anything is half, and half is a division by 2. So to find half of something, which is the middle of something, I have to divide by 2. What happens when I halve this set of odd numbers? How do I know that they are odd numbers? What do I mean by a set of odd numbers? I mean if I count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have a total of 7 numbers, so that's an odd set of numbers. What happens when I halve it? Well, when I halve it, to find the middle, if I halve it in the middle, I have 1 digit and 1 value for the median. Well, let's look at that more closely. Let's look at which value is it. And by that, I mean what position in the list is that median. I know that the median of this set of numbers is 2, but what position is it in that list? Well, 2 is the 4th number in the list. How did I get that? And how can I know that it will be the 4th number? Well, let's have a look. I have 7 digits. I have 7 numbers. I'm going to halve that. So I'm going to divide it by 2. Well, 7 divided by 2 is going to be, is 3.5. But there isn't something, we can't have a 3.5th number in a list. It's either the first number in the list or the second or the third or the fourth. We can't have 3.5th number in the list. So what we do with something like 3.5 is we round up. So we say the median is going to be the 4th value in the list. And sure enough, it is. The 4th number in the list is 2, and 2 is our median. Now, what happens when I halve an even set of numbers? Well, how do I know and what do I mean by even set of numbers? Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have a total of 8 numbers. What happens when I'm halving them to find the median, the middle? Halfway actually gives us 2 digits in the middle, 2 values in the middle. Well, again, which positions are these numbers in the list? Let's have a look. I have 8 numbers and I want to halve that, so I'm going to divide by 2. That tells me that the 4th value in the list is the middle number. But I know, because I've got an even set of numbers, that there's going to be 2 numbers in the middle. So it's not just the 4th number. You can see that it's the 4th and the 5th value in the list. These 2 numbers together are the median. So it will be whatever this number is and the number after. So if we have a list of 20 numbers and I halve them, I get the 10th value. But I know that there'll be 2 numbers in the middle, so I know it's going to be the 10th and the value after it, so the 11th values in the list. Now, what do I do? Is the median 3 and 5? No, the median of 2 numbers are the 2 numbers added together, 3 plus 5, divided by 2. Well, 3 plus 5 is 8, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So of course the middle value is 4, because what comes between 3 and 5, it's 4. So this idea of having an odd number of numbers, an odd set of an odd data. It's important because you need to know that if it's an odd number, when we divide it, it's going to give us a 0.5. We round up and we see where the fourth value is. Equally, if we have an even number and we divide it, it will give us one value, but we have to remember there are two values in the middle and then find them. Now, that is going to help us when the data is in a frequency table. So you won't have a list and you have to figure out how to find that middle value from the table. So firstly, your step one to any question is to actually work out the total frequency. You want to know how many numbers you have if you were to list them and whether it's odd or even. And I'm telling you now, it's going to be an odd total frequency. So I'm adding up the frequencies, 5, 10, 3, 2 and 1. So 5 add 10 is 15. Add another 5, which is the 3, and the 2 is 20. Add another 1 is 21. So I know that the total frequency is odd. So I know there's only going to be one middle value. So how do I find the middle? I have to find the middle of 21 numbers. So I would have the total frequency, whatever my total frequency is, and I have to divide it by 2. So that's 21 divided by 2. Well, what's 21 divided by 2? 21 divided by 2 is 10.5. But I know there's no such thing as 10.5th value in a list or a table, so I'm going to round up to the 11th value. So that's your step 1 and your step 2, and they're pretty straightforward. How do I then find where the 11th value is? I'm going to list, but I'm going to list just to show you how this works. I never ever want you to list, because imagine if, for example, the total frequency here, the frequency here was 100 and this was 50. You're not going to list numbers 150 times. That's the point of putting them in a table. Right, how many times? This table here shows the number of sweets eaten per day by a group of 21 people. How many people eat 0 sweets a day? 5 people. 5 is the frequency. It's how many times the 0 appears. So the 0, if I were to list it, would appear 5 times. Well, how many numbers do I have in just this first column? What tells me? Well, the 5 tells me there are 5 numbers in this column. So I'm going to just write 5. But then the ones, how many people eat 1 sweet per day? 10. So the number 1, if it were being listed, is going to appear 10 times. So I now ask, I got up to 5. I now ask, how many numbers do I have now all together? Not just ones, but zeros and ones. How many numbers do I have all together? Well, I had 5 in the first one, and I have 10 in the second one. So altogether, 5 add 10, I've now got 15 numbers. 15 numbers. How many people eat 2 sweets a day? 3 people. So the 2 is listed 3 times. Well, how many numbers have I got now altogether? Well, 15 numbers, add 3 numbers. That gives us 18. So up to here, I've got to the 18th number in my list. How many people eat 3 sweets per day? 2 people. So the 3 is repeated twice. 18 numbers I had, and I'm adding 2 more numbers. That's 20. So here I've got my 20th number in the list. And how many people eat 4 sweets a day? 1 person. So I've got already 20 plus 1 gives me 21 numbers. The 4 is listed once, and it's my 21st and last number in the list. The last number here should equal your total frequency. Now, what does that mean? These here are all end numbers. They tell you the end 0 is the 5th number in the list. And this one here, the 15th number is a 1. And the 18th number is a 2. And this 3 here is the 20th value. So they tell you the end of the list. But I want to start. Well, I always start with the first number in the list. So from the very first number to the 5th number in the list, they're all zeros. That's what I'm saying here. Number 1 to 5, I'm going to change these arrows. Number 1 to 5, the first to the 5th number in the list is a 0. Okay, if I've got up to number 5 here, where do I start? Well, I start from the 6th number, because after 5 comes 6. So the 6th to the 15th number in my list, they're all 1s. Well, after 15, what happens? Well, I get to my 16th number in the list. 16 to the 18th number in my list is a 2. What happens? What comes after 18? Well, 19 comes after 18. So the 19th number to the 20th number in the list is a 20. And then there's only one number here, so the 4 is the 21st value. Right. And I'm trying to find the middle number, and I'm told that the middle number is the 11th number in the list. Well, where is 11? It's not 1 to 5. It's 6 to 15. So it's in this column. The 11th number is not a 10. 10 is how many times it's listed. The 11th number is 1. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. The 11th number in my list is a 1. You always read your median from that first column there. So your step 3 is to count, add frequencies. This is what we've done. Put the end point at the starting point. And of course, the final part is to actually write down what your median is. The median is 1 sweet per day. That's the middle number. Right, I'm going to do exactly what I did here with even numbers, but I'm not going to list, so that you can see what we do without listing. And for this one, the total frequency is even. So again, your step 1 is to find the total frequency. Add the frequencies up to decide if it's odd or even. So 1 add 4, add 2, add 3, add 8 is going to be 18. And 18 is an even number. So you know that there's going to be 2 numbers in the middle. Your step 2 is your total frequency, which is 18 divided by 2. And 18 divided by 2 gives you 9, the 9th value. But you know that there are 2 in the middle. Just like up here, we had 2 numbers in the middle when there were an even amount of numbers. So we know it's not just going to be the 9th, it's going to be the 9th and the 10th values in the table. Our third step is what happens here. We count and we add the frequencies. And we always start by asking the same question. How many numbers are in the first column? Well, this is talking about pairs of shoes that we own. How many people own one pair of shoes? One person. That first number is always the same, 1. There's only one number here. And then we add. There are 4 people who own 2 pairs of shoes. So the 2 is repeated 4 times. How many numbers do we now have? 1 plus 4 is 5. And then we add the 5 with the 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. We add the 7 with the 3. 7 add 3 is 10. We add the 10 with the 8. 8 plus 8, 10 plus 8 is 18. You can see the total frequencies match. The last number in your list is the 18th number because you only have 18 numbers. Remember, these are end values. It doesn't start with 0. There's no such thing as the 0 number in a list. It's the first number in the list, and we've already got it. So there's nothing to do with that. 1 stays the same. If I end with 1, I start with 2. 2 to 5. If I end with 5, I start with 6. 6 to 7. If I end with 7, I start with 8. 8 to 10. If I end with 10, I start with 11. 11 to the 18th. So the first value is here. It's the number 1 in the list. The second to 5th values are there. They're all 2s. The 6th and 7th numbers in my list, they're all 3s. The 8th to the 10th, they're all 4s. And the 11th to the 18th numbers in my list are all 5s. And which values do I want? Well, I want the 9th and the 10th values. Well, the 9th and the 10th are here between 8 to 10. So that means my median, which is step 4, is 4 pairs of shoes. And the final one we're going to do is a practice question, but we'll go through it. Step 1 is find the total frequency. So you add them up. 5 plus 10, 10 plus 20 is 30. 5 add 5 is 40. So the total frequency is 40. That's an even number. So you know there's going to be 2 values in the list. We get the total frequency. We divide it by 2. That gives us the 20th value, but we know there's 2, so it's and the 21st values in the table. Step 3, we do the counting. How many cars per household, how many households have 0 cars, own 0 cars? 5. So there are 5 zeros, 5 numbers in this row here. First number always stays the same. And then I do my adding. This 5, add 10 is 15. And then the 15, add the 20 is 35. And then the 35, add the 5 is 40. And if you add 0, it doesn't do anything, it doesn't change anything. In fact, the 4 here is a trick. 4 does not exist, in fact, because it says frequency 0. So if we were listing them, 4 does not exist. So we stay here, and the total frequency we knew is 40, and those 2 numbers match up. And remember, these are end numbers. So we start the first number in the list to the 5th, they're all zeros. 5, we end with 5, so we start with 6. 6 to 15, they're all 1s. We end at 15, so we start at 16. The 16th to the 35th value in the list, they're all 2s. And then if we end with 35, we start with 36. 36 to 40, all of these values are 3 cars per household. And I want the 20th and the 21st. Well, the 20th and the 21st are going to be here. So the median is 2 cars. And this is how we find the median from a frequency table.